Yes, BBC Look North understands that tomorrow lunchtime it'll be confirmed that RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire will be turned into a centre to house asylum seekers. Up to 1,500 male migrants will stay there while they wait for their cases to be processed. Tonight, a major organisation that represents refugees and asylum seekers has echoed the views of many local people and politicians by saying it doesn't think that Scampton should be used in this way. Crispin Rolfe has the story.
We may lose the battle, but we're not going to lose the war.
Disused East Yorkshire University halls.
To me, using a big army or air force base would be ideal.
Skegness hotels.
Whether it's former military bases or elsewhere, we need to get a grip.
And now, a former Lincolnshire airbase.
People in Lincoln really care about Scampton. It is an incredibly historic site.
They've all tried to avoid having to house asylum seekers, but while the hotels and halls are winning their argument, the former RAF Scampton site looks likely to lose its, despite a £300 million development plan on the table and a meeting between its MP and the Prime Minister.
I fear for the worst, but the Prime Minister was fully engaged, and I really impressed on him the cultural and historical importance of the dam busters, and he's fully clocked that.
Everyone knows what Scampton's famous for, but what of its future? The government's looking to make its new Migrant Bill work, which, if passed, would controversially see 28-day detention for asylum seekers before flying them to another safe country. If so, with 45,000 people arriving illegally last year alone, that's half of the UK's prison population, might Scampton be, from the government's perspective, an ideal location? And if so, where on the site would those asylum seekers be housed?
My understanding is that it will be in these three former single living accommodation blocks just here where the pointer is. We also understand that they will be using some of the hard standing areas in front of the existing hangars here to put porter cabin type arrangements. And of course, it is quite puzzling that the government should be saying on the one hand that we should be levelling up, and Lincolnshire is one of those areas. And yet, at the same time, we're going to potentially lose this £300 million development.
Of course, no official announcement's been made yet. But in a statement, the Home Office says that it's committed to preserving the heritage of any site used for asylum accommodation, and it's working to end the use of hotels and bring forward a range of alternative sites, including former student halls and surplus military sites.
I think the government is in a desperate position because they're trying to get people out of these hotels. But what we're saying is, we're not NIMBYs. We'll try and find you another site in Lincolnshire, but don't do anything which is going to ruin the biggest bit of levelling up, £300 million worth of investment we've ever had.
Should a decision be taken, we are considering what legal options we have.
So despite meetings, petitions and a possible legal challenge against using the former RAF Scampton airbase, it seems probable that 1,500 asylum seekers will be housed there. What's not clear yet is what that means for the local community, the future of the site, and its promised £300 million regeneration plan. Crispin Rolfe, BBC Look North.
And just to say, in the last few minutes, we have heard from West Lindsey District Council, who say that they're speaking to their legal team tonight and they await the announcement tomorrow. Well, before we came on the air, I spoke to Enver Solomon. Enver is the Chief Executive of the Refugee Council. Mr. Solomon, do you think that Scampton is a good idea from the government for asylum seekers, or would they be happier and more comfortable staying in a hotel rather than temporary accommodation and temporary cabins?
I think warehousing people who have fled places like Afghanistan, where people are persecuted and hounded by the Taliban, from places like Syria, where there's the bombs and bullets of a civil war, to warehouse them in a former military base is not the way to treat people, most of whom are successful in their asylum claim and are allowed to stay as refugees.
Now, Scampton Parish Council spokesperson said, everybody, I quote, everybody is really worried, frightened and concerned. Do you accept that and think those people should be? Because there's many of them.
Well, I think these are people who come here seeking safety. They're not people who are a threat to our communities. As I say, many of them go on to be allowed to stay in our communities as refugees and go on to contribute, work in the NHS.
So why then are so many people, and there's a lot of them, so worried and so unhappy about this?
Well, because I think where they see a large number of people being warehoused without the facilities or support, of course they're worried about that. It's inappropriate. There aren't the support systems. It's an isolated, inappropriate location to house anyone. People shouldn't be housed there in this way. People should be housed in accommodation in the communities like they do in other European countries, and we should be making rapid decisions on their asylum claims.
So this is quite interesting. So you would say that Scampton is the wrong place, would you? As the Refugee Council, you would say Scampton is the wrong place?
It's the wrong place, it's the wrong solution, and it's not a way to treat people who have fled bombs and bullets and persecution across the globe.
A lot of support for the government bill that says people who arrive in the UK illegally will be detained and swiftly moved to their home country or a safe country like Rwanda. Just briefly, because a lot of people have been writing to me about this, what is your view on that?
Our view is that these people deserve a fair hearing. If you've had to flee beatings, for example, in Iran, or bombs and bullets in civil war in Africa, you deserve a fair hearing. You deserve to be given asylum and refugee status if you are indeed in need of it. And that's what we should do. It's what we've always done, and we need to continue to do it today. We shouldn't be throwing people out of the country.
A lot of people will be very angry as they're watching the TV now, as they watch this. In a sentence, what do you say to those people who are not happy about what's going to happen at Scampton, probably announced tomorrow?
Scampton's not the right place to house people. We should be giving people who have fled horrendous victimisation and persecution a fair hearing in the UK and housing them in appropriate places whilst their claim is being heard, and it should be heard quickly so we don't have to house them for long periods.
Mr. Solomon, very good to talk to you tonight. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
It's interesting, isn't it, that the chief executive of the Refugee Council thinks that Scampton is the wrong place. So I hinted there's a lot of interest in this story, and there has been for a few weeks. And of course there will be, or looks like there will be, developments on it tomorrow. We'll let you know as usual.